Petco Park, a new beginning, let's go. Started back rocking the brown. Ever since we've been knocking them down. Baby said she wanna go to the game. Taught her how to say Padres gang. Started back rocking the brown. Ever since we've been knocking them down. Mitchell and Ness with the old school name. All of the homies holler Padre gang. Yeah, that.
And good day, everybody. Welcome to episode 177 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. I'm your host, Ben Fadden. Oh, and my overlay's not right. Hold on 1 second. Let me fix that. Sorry, I just hopped on here. There we go. Just hopped on here after Joe Musgrove. What a heck of a masterpiece that was. Goes 8 strong innings, took a no-hitter into that 8th inning, goes 7 2/3 innings, and he nearly got the no-hitter done. Almost got it done. Gave up that double to Colton Wong over the right fielder's head. I thought he was going to get it. When Jake Cronenworth caught that liner in the 8th inning, those are usually the plays. When no-hitters happen, there's usually that one play that is a great play, or the ball gets smoked and the defense helps you out, right? Helps the pitcher out. And that felt like the play that would have got the no-hitter done. They got past Caratini in that 8th inning, I think, and it felt like it was going to get done. But Colton Wong doubles. What I noticed, at the end of this no-hitter was, or almost no-hitter, was that Joe Musgrove, he was using that two-seam fastball a little bit more, or probably way more, than he was using it in his actual no-hitter that he threw. And so the Padres end up winning tonight 7-0 over the Brewers. It's in the middle of a 4-game series here that I'm recording or going live for this episode. I usually don't do this, but regardless of if Joe was going to throw a no-hitter or not, during that 8th inning, I kind of made the decision of, okay, I'm going to do an episode. I don't care why, or if he gets the no-hitter or if he doesn't, I don't care. You got to give props to this guy for the performance that he had, because my goodness, that was an amazing, amazing performance. He had control of everything pretty much the entire game. What was it? The 6th inning, he had a couple walks that, raised his pitch count. And like Mud was talking about late in the broadcast, it was kind of like, maybe Bob Melvin's going to have to face a tough decision here, because Joe Musgrove's pitch count was, I think, higher than what it was at the time when he was close to that first no-hitter in Texas. Obviously, Joe didn't get the no-hitter tonight, but he still finishes with 8 innings of shutout ball, gave up that 1 hit, walked 3, struck out 6 over 114 pitches. In the chat right now, let me know where you're watching from. Let me know your thoughts on this game. If you watched this game, where you were watching it, were you superstitious about this game when it was happening? I wasn't as superstitious as I was for the first no-hitter. One, because I was clipping highlights on my laptop, and my laptop was about to die, so I had to go to the counter and charge it. So I did have to move. During the first no-hitter in Texas, I sat in the same spot. I was watching the game on the TV in my front living room, sat in the same spot, was keeping score, did not move when I realized what was going on at probably like the 5th inning or somewhere around that time, and he got it done. Now that the first no-hitter happened, it's kind of like, okay, if he gets another one, it's cool. If he doesn't, well, that's fine too. I want to get the win, and a big part, like I mentioned, is just hats off to Joe Musgrove. Really, really great job out of him today. I mean, first inning, 3 up, 3 down, strikes out Wong and strikes out Yelich in that inning. The Padres get 1 run, I think, or 2 runs in that second inning or 1 run in the second inning. I think they got a run in the first for him. In the bottom of the second, ground out for Kutch, another ground out, ground out. In the third, he hit Caratini. That was the first base runner that he allowed. But he still hadn't allowed a hit, obviously. Jace Peterson ground out, Kane ground out, Wong ground out, lots of ground outs, kind of like that no-hitter in Texas. He had a lot of ground outs during that game. Obviously, the final out to Kim, the grounder by Kiner Falefa. Yes, I remember the hitter. I will always remember that. Was a ground out, lots of ground outs, and those are his friend. It was the walks, like I mentioned, in the 6th inning that maybe took a little bit out of him. The multiple walks. In the 4th inning, another 2 ground outs, one by Yelich, and then he got Kutch to fly out to deep center. That was probably the best hit ball before that liner to Cronenworth. And then in the bottom of the 5th, he walked Tellez, but then got a line out, a ground out to short, a ground out by Caratini to Musgrove, flipped it over to first to Haas. Then in the bottom of the 6th, this is where those couple walks happened, right? And that's where it's like, obviously the pitch count was rising, and you just didn't really know if Joe was going to be able to finish it in terms of the no-hitter. At least I kind of had a little bit of doubt just because Baumel already knows that, hey, Musgrove already has a no-hitter in the bag, and we need Joe Musgrove to be healthy for the entire year, especially when it matters most, if the Padres are going to be serious contenders for a World Series. There's no one pitching in the world right now better than Joe Musgrove. There just isn't, I don't think, in terms of starting pitchers. So health is paramount, and so when those walks happened, the pitch count was rising. And Mudd was talking about it a little bit, as I mentioned earlier. Wasn't really sure if he had that no-hitter. Now, once you send him out, I do understand this. Once you send him out for the 8th inning, you're going to let him finish, right? The 8th inning is the biggest decision in a no-hitter, in my opinion, right, for a manager. You send him out for the 8th. Well, if he gets through that 8th inning without allowing a hit, you're sending him back out there for the 9th. You have to. You don't have him pitch 8 no-hit innings and then say, you know what? No, we're not going to allow you to try out and go out there for the 9th. That's not the way it works, right? So the 8th inning's the huge, huge decision, and he let Joe out there in the 8th, and we'll get to that. We talked about the 6, those couple walks. He struck out Kane, got Yelich to ground out, struck out McCutchen. Bottom 7, 3 up, 3 down, got Tellez to pop out, struck out Taylor, struck out Peterson. And then the bottom of the 8th, that line out to Crony. That's where I thought the no-hitter was going to happen because, like I mentioned, that was the play, right? That was that one play. Okay, a ball's hit really hard and the defense makes a good play, or it's hit right to someone, right? That no-hitter in Texas, there was a good play. I believe there was a couple good plays, but then there was also that liner, like in this game. There was the liner hit to Myers, right? And Myers caught it in right field, and it was like, whew, big sigh of relief, right? Oh, okay. Kind of relax. All right, that's good. I think was there another liner, I think, to Cronenworth in that game? It might have been the 9th inning. I forget what inning. I think Myers was the 8th inning. But there were liners in that game as well that went the Padres' way. They were caught, and that helped Joe finish off the no-hitter. That obviously didn't happen in the 8th inning. He did get the line out for Caratini, got Kane to fly out to Azokar, and then more action for Azokar in right field with Colton Wong doubling over his head. Now, this was a big, I think, question in my head when the play happened. Let me know in the chat here. Let me know your thoughts. When Wong hit that ball and it ends up falling over Azokar's head, who thought here that Azokar could have caught that ball? I personally think he could have. And I'll try to share my screen with the play. I think that he could have caught the ball. Hang on, let me load it up here. All right, here it is. We'll get to the offense, John. Don't worry. But Musgrove's obviously the story here. All right. So here's the play.
For the Brewers, Colton Wong. Fly ball right field. Back
Liner
goes
to right.
Azokar.
And Azokar, he's kind of going backwards on it, kind of trying to Willie Mays it early. And I feel like if he just would have ran straight back, he would have been able to catch it. Am I wrong there? I don't know.
Colton Wong.
Like, look at the play again.
Right field. Back goes
it looks like instead if he would have, tried to run straight back, instead of trying to Willie Mays it, I feel like he could have gotten there. Maybe he would have had to Willie Mays it eventually. But look how early he just stops right there. I don't know. I think he could have gotten to that.
To second goes
run back hard,
the first of the night for the
and maybe that's just the way his route to the ball. He was gonna catch it, like this anyway. But I felt like he could have caught it kind of like this. Sorry for the podcast audience, but I'm showing on YouTube. He could have caught it there. I think he had a better chance if he would have sprinted to the ball. And that's easier to say, me sitting here, obviously, and not being on the field. But it looked like a play that he could have caught. That's just me. John says, I sure did look like a bad play on the ball. Yeah, and I hesitate to say it was like a bad play on the ball. I just feel like maybe he hesitated a little bit. Maybe that's all. But that's obviously the one hit that Musgrove gave up, and so that's definitely the one thing that we're going to question, right? And I personally think he could have caught it. But he didn't. Musgrove finishes his outing. Ruben Niebla has the mound visit after the double, and then he gets Pablo Reyes to ground out to Crony at second, and there you go. And that was his outing. 8 innings, no runs, gave up that one hit. Just amazing outing from Joe Musgrove. Just truly, truly amazing outing. And when you compare it to his actual no-hitter, because I wrote this down too, on April 9, 2021, obviously, against the Rangers, he went 9 innings, didn't give up a run, gave up one less hit, obviously. I saw in the Baseball Reference box score, he didn't walk anyone. I thought he did, but maybe that was a hit batter. I think it probably was. And then he struck out 10. So he struck out more guys actually than today using that contact. But it was the walks, obviously, that, increased that pitch count there, specifically in the 6th inning, having those couple walks. That was probably his longest inning, of his outing. And that's where it kind of taxed him. But just a tremendous outing. And, I saw a piece in the Bleacher Report today about how he's probably going to get, or they thought, that he's probably going to get $200 million in free agency if he gets there, just because he's easily going to be the most sought after free agent pitcher on the market, starting pitcher. And look, the Padres just can't let it get there, because that's your greatest fear, right? They let it get to free agency, and another team just totally overpays for him. They get desperate, totally overpay, kind of like how the Yankees overpaid for Garrett Cole, which I mean, the numbers are there for Garrett Cole. Like, just look at the numbers. They've overpaid for him so far, and they're going to hate that contract in the second half of that. So that's your greatest fear, right? A team, he gets to free agency, and a team totally is desperate and overpays for Musgrove, and the Padres don't bring him back. Fans are going to get pissed off if that happens. I'll be pissed off. They just can't allow it to get to free agency. Your free agency, your hometown discount, which you're not going to get a hometown discount, I don't think. Especially with the lowball offer you gave him the first time around, $11 million a year, that's it. I mean, you're going to have to give more. You just are. You're not getting that hometown discount. That discount is right now the fact that you're the only team that gets to negotiate with him. That should be that's like your discount. That's like your special, advantage over the other teams. You got to use that to your advantage. And you can't just you got to make a more competitive offer of where Joe Musgrove takes it seriously and says, hey, okay, I'm going to continue. Me and my agent and Peter Seidler, they're going to continue talking. They're going to resume talks. Because, what was it, like a month ago, a few weeks ago with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan, he said that they've cut off the talks for now, and he wants to just focus on pitching. And until the Padres give him more of a competitive offer, he's not going to talk about an extension. Well, Peter Seidler, Eric Grupner, AJ Preller, give him a competitive offer then. You cannot let this go to free agency. You cannot let that happen. And I know that the Padres have the money, right? There's tons of people going to games this year and all that. But you know that there's other teams out there with starting pitching. There are so many teams that would love to have Joe Musgrove be their ace. And I don't know why, but there's just that feeling somewhere, maybe it's in the back of my head, that the Padres are going to be like, we have Mackenzie Gore for years and years to come. We have Darvish and Snell next year. And we can still upgrade the team through cheaper contracts through trade. And they're gonna be like, well, we're not gonna be desperate. We don't want to totally overpay for him. And what I would say to that is, you're gonna have to overpay, I think, somehow. If he gets to free agency, you're definitely gonna have to overpay. You know, the way you're not gonna have to overpay, and to be honest, would it really be an overpay based on how he's pitching right now? If, because it's going to have to probably be 8 years. That's what they offered him. They offered him 8 years, $11 million a year, right? Their offer, according to The Athletic. So they're obviously willing to give him 8 years. So he isn't going to probably accept anything that's less than that, unless it's huge AAV for 6 or 7 years, He probably wants that long-term deal to finish his career with the Padres, right? So you're going to have to give him a long-term deal, at least 8 years. And teams saw that Padres offer 8 years, $88 million, and they're like, okay, we're going to have to give him 8 years as well. So, will teams offer him probably some short-term, ridiculously high AAV? Yeah. But I feel like that 8-year offer, okay, if the Padres are willing to give that to him and they know him best, then other teams are going to say, okay, we got to give him 8 years or 9 years even, And I can look, I don't know if Fangraphs, let me see here. I don't know if Fangraphs has updated his value, because they have a value metric. If someone hits free agency, this is how much money they deserve. Like, that's their value metric, millions-wise. And right now, let's see. This is Musgrove, right? Yeah. Right now, it says he's worth $13.5 million in free agency, but that's just accounting for the amount of starts that he's had so far this year. So we're a quarter of the way through the year. You multiply that by 4, right? Let me see here. 13.5 times 4. That's $50+ million a year that he's worth right now, according to Fangraphs, their value metric. So, is it really going to be overpaying if the Padres give him, I don't know, $25 million a year, $27 million a year? If he continues pitching like this and proves that he can stay healthy, and let's say we're in September and they're like, all the pressure's on them to get an extension done, you're telling me that $27 million a year is going to be an overpay for him? I'm not so sure. When you consider that you're going to get him in his prime, he's continued to stay healthy, he's getting better every single year, he's your ace of the rotation, and you guarantee that he didn't hit free agency, that's a win, And I'd be comfortable giving that to him right now, based on the way that he's pitching, based on how he's taking care of his body and what we've heard in the offseason of, him, doing the water stuff underwater for like 4 minutes or something crazy like that. Like, he takes care of his body great. He knows what he's doing out there. He's getting better every year. If you look at the numbers, he's the guy you give the money to. He's from San Diego, family's here, yada, yada, yada. He's so comfortable here. Like Jack Stronach said, the Padres prospect who went to Helix, Grossmont's rival high school. I went to Helix as well. him being comfortable here with his family and all that, that's huge, right? Going to Grossmont games on an off day, rare home off day, and he goes to his high school games. Like, this guy belongs in San Diego. You don't need to hear me say that, right? There's no excuse for the Padres to not offer him at least $25 million a year in an extension. I don't think. If I'm wrong on that, let me know. But I don't think I'm wrong on that. And let me know in the chat right now, what would you give Joe Musgrove? What extension would you offer him right now? And while you do that, I'm going to go through this game. Padres won today 7-0. That was great. A great win. They finally got that 31st win of the season. Luke Voigt in the top of the first, he hit a ground rule double that scored Manny, made it 1-0 Padres. In the top of the second, Profar single to right, made it 2-0 Padres. In the bottom of the third, Musgrove got out of that runner on third base jam. In the fourth, Manny, a 3-run bomb to left field on a breaking ball after fouling off 3 straight pitches from Corbin Burnes, who is the reigning Cy Young winner. And by the way, Corbin Burnes, those were the last runs he'd give up because he only went 3 2/3 innings. This offense did a tremendous, tremendous job of getting to Corbin Burnes and making Joe Musgrove relax on the mound. Maybe that's why he was able to get through these 8 innings and almost throw that no-hitter, that second no-hitter for himself in less than 2 years. Was because of the offense that he was provided. In the 5th inning, Profar had an RBI single to center, made it 6-0. Bottom 6, Musgrove walked 2, like I mentioned, but stranded runners on first and third. Got out of some jams. Was still at 0 hits at that point. Bottom 7, Musgrove got it out of that inning. Struck out 2. Bottom 8, with 2 outs, gave up that double to Wong. Azokar, I think, could have gotten to that if he sprinted back instead of committing probably too early to try to do a Willie Mays type catch. Maybe he lost the ball. I don't know. But that ended up being the only hit that Musgrove gave up. Top 9, Kim, RBI single after Azokar hit a triple. So I saw fans, it was kind of ironic. Now Azokar wants to hustle out a triple when he could have hustled in right field, And then Musgrove's final line, like I mentioned, 8 innings, no runs, 1 hit, 3 walks, struck out 6 over 114 pitches. Craig Stammen came in the 9th, shutout 9th inning. No one cares, though. They care that they won. The big story is Joe Musgrove. Manny Machado getting his 9th home run on the season. Man, that was a great, great win. An exciting win. A game that was kind of boring in the middle of it once Manny hit that 3-run home run, just because there wasn't a whole lot of action because Musgrove wasn't giving up hits. And there were a couple innings, and maybe this was good or maybe it wasn't. I maybe side on the side that it wasn't, was that there were some innings that the Padres offense went 3 up, 3 down late in that game. I think it might have been going into the 8th inning, and Joe Musgrove didn't get much rest at all. Had to go right back out there, I don't know how much rest he got in that Texas game, like inning by inning. I kind of forget that, but maybe that's part of it. Obviously he was fatigued. You're going to be fatigued regardless of how great you're pitching, and it's the 8th inning, right? But I'm just so proud of what Joe Musgrove has done this year, what he did tonight. It's amazing. It is amazing what we're seeing out of Joe Musgrove and this entire rotation. Shamanaya, Mackenzie Gore, Clev when he's been healthy, right? Nick Martinez just seems like he's getting out of a lot of jams, right? It's just, and then Taylor Rogers, we'll get to yesterday's game because why not? We're already at it. So why not just talk about the first 2 games of this series, and then I'll talk about the next 2 on Sunday. So it's a 4-game series. Taylor Rogers for most of the year, he's been good too, So this pitching staff, most of it, the bullpen's been shaky, but the closer most of the time, and then the starting rotation, Darvish I didn't mention, got to mention him. Amazing. They've been amazing this year. And they're a big reason why the Padres are 31-22 right now. And we're going to get back to that Joe Musgrove extension conversation. Let me go to his game logs and just show how great he's been. They don't have the Milwaukee start in there, but obviously today, 8 shutout innings. May 28th, 6 innings, 1 earned run. May 21st, 7 innings, no earned runs. May 15th, 6 innings, 2 earned runs. May 5th, 7 innings, 2 earned runs. May 1st, 7 innings, 1 earned run. April 26th, 6 innings, 2 earned runs. April 19th, 6 1/3, 2 earned runs. April 14th, 6 2/3, no earned runs. April 9th, first start of the year against Arizona, 6 innings, 2 earned runs. Hasn't given up more than 2 earned runs in any start. He has pitched 3 shutouts now, including tonight's game, and he's given up a total of 12 earned runs this season. He has struck out 58 guys entering tonight. So you add 6 strikeouts. So he struck out 64 guys so far this year. And he has walked 14 guys. Amazing, amazing numbers when you look at it. Ground ball percentage going into tonight's start, 43.6% of the time, leaving over 80% of the guys that he's put on base. He's left those guys on base. 80.5% of those guys entering tonight's start. He's given up less than 0.7 home runs through 9 innings, walked less than 2 guys per 9 innings, 9 strikeouts per 9. Amazing. Just amazing out of Joe Musgrove. And I see some comments here about Joe Musgrove and a possible extension. Let's get to that right now. Yusef III says, counter arguments are the Padres already got good years from him and they can add more value to the team instead of spending on only one player. What I would say to that is Joe Musgrove is one of those guys that you pay the big money to, and I understand the point about spending the money on more than one player, but you got to understand that with this rotation, it's going to be hard to find multiple guys that can fill Joe Musgrove's shoes next year. Are we sure that Adrian Morejon's going to be able to fill Joe Musgrove's shoes? Because let's say, so we got Darvish, Snell next year. Martinez, let's say he opts out because he has a good year. Musgrove, let's say he leaves. Can't pay him, right? Let's say he leaves. Clev, let's say you bring one of Clev or Manaea back, okay? So now you have a rotation of Gore, Darvish, Snell, Clev, or Manaea, and then Morejon. That seems like a decent rotation, right? But Darvish got hurt last year. I'm playing devil's advocate here. Darvish got hurt last year. Snell hasn't been consistent really for a long period of time in a Padre uniform. Clev has that injury history, obviously. Who else? I'm not going to say anything about Gore because I love where Gore is, but he's still not Joe Musgrove, right? And then Morejon, he's had an injury history, right? He just had Tommy John. So you don't have a ton of guarantees health-wise in that rotation, right? And spending money on, more than one player, right? Let's go to the outfield, right? You want to spend money on that, right? Well, CJ Abrams, I think, should be in the outfield, and you're going to be paying him minimum salary, rookie salary probably. Okay, so you're not paying a lot of money for him. You don't have to bring anyone in for that. Robert Hassel III, I think he'll be up next year at some point. You're not going to be paying him much money. So it's not like you're going to be paying, guys $30+ million to go play in the outfield, right? And I could buy that argument if that was the case, but that's not happening. Luke Voigt, you have under control. Who else? Alfaro, I think you have under control. Nola, you have under control. Camposano, you have under control. Let's say if Nola or Alfaro, you get rid of one of them. Camposano's not going to be making a whole lot of money, right? So I think you just go all in on Musgrove. And Yusef III says, I'm with you, Ben, but not sure how the front office will think about it. Well, Peter Seidler knows that he knows what Padres fans want, and that's pretty much all I can say about it. I'm not in the front office. and the front office, they can't think with emotions. Okay, don't think with emotions then. Look at the numbers. Literally look at the numbers. And I'd be willing to pay this guy $25+ million a year right now. That's just what I think. Joel Williams says, depends on what the Padres can afford. How much did they pay for Clevenger and Manaea? What do you mean, how much did they pay for? They're going to go for more in free agency. That's usually how it works. So what they're making now doesn't really do anything. And would you rather have Clevenger and Manaea or Musgrove? That's a really compelling question, because Manaea in his career, he's been a 4 ERA pitcher. He's done quality starts, but Musgrove's had a quality start every single time out this year, and Clev, he's had the injury history, right? So I guess that's a question that the front office is going to ask themselves, right? But I think they know who Padre fans want more. They want Musgrove. If that means parting with Clev and Manaea, if that means that they get to keep Musgrove, if we get to have Musgrove and don that jersey, we're picking Musgrove, I think. And you'd say, Joel says conservatively $18 million a year. Well, then you're not keeping Joe Musgrove. You're not going to keep him then. There's no way that he's going to sign here for $18 million a year. His agent, there's no way that would happen. He would easily get more than $20 million a year on the free agent market right now. There are a bunch of teams that would want him. I don't know what the Red Sox situation is, but I don't think their starting pitching's that strong. And Steve Cohen has so much money. I'm not going to mention the Dodgers. I think he's that much of a San Diegan that the Dodgers can offer him $500 million and he wouldn't go to them. The Giants, I tend to think that too. But I mean, you're telling me that the Cubs don't have money? Telling me that, I don't know, that the Nationals, if they get a new ownership group, don't have money? The Phillies, I know they have a big payroll. Maybe they're not the fit. But the Mets just throw money around. The Braves, I'm sure, have money. That's just National League teams, Blue Jays, they're on the up. Mariners. Just trying to think. I mean, Texas has money, I'm sure. They spend a lot on the infield, but they don't have a lot of money, I don't think, going to the rotation. Angels. There's other teams that would love to have Joe Musgrove be their ace. And they would definitely offer him $20+ million a year. No doubt. No freaking doubt about it. No doubt at all. So, yeah, $18 million. You would get fired if you're AJ Preller offering Joe Musgrove $18 million as your final offer. I know you say conservatively, but $18 million, that's not going to happen. No way. No way at all. All right, this episode brought to you by Gaglione Bros, famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries located at Petco Park, Point Loma, and Mission Gorge. You can visit GaglioneBros.com to view their entire menu, their addresses, the phone numbers, all that good stuff to get in touch with them. Great cheesesteaks, great garlic fries. All right, we talked about this game. Padres win 7-0. We had the Musgrove conversation. Now let's talk about Thursday's loss. Padres were up 4-1 in the ninth inning, and they end up collapsing, right? We'll just go through it here, and then we'll obviously get to Rogers' concern. Is there a concern there or not? We'll get to that. All right. Pre-game, Nomar Mazara was activated. By the way, I didn't talk about Will Myers going on the IL before today's game and Brent Rooker being activated. I have a reaction video on the YouTube channel, on this very YouTube channel, that you can watch. I reacted to the news live on the pregame show, so I don't think I need to rehash that again here on this episode. So go watch that if you're interested in that. Pre-game on Thursday, Mazara was activated, starting in right field. Cano off the team. I've already reacted to that as well. Mazara, he has power. He makes contact. To be honest, I think that he definitely has a better chance than Trace Thompson of staying with this team long term. One, Trace Thompson was brought up because Will Myers was on the IL, and that was going to be short-term anyway. And Mazzara here, he's replacing Cano, who got released. So he literally took a roster spot. So he's going to have good amount of plate appearances here, and I think he should be the starting right fielder. He started the last 2 games so far in right field, and I think that should continue. I think he should play tomorrow and Sunday, rest of the series. Give him a ton of at-bats. I don't know. I mean, I kind of do know why they pinch hit for Mazzara 2 at-bats in both of these first 2 games that he's played with the Major League team. I think it's because of matchups and defense. Do I really agree with that? Especially yesterday? No. I get today, I mean, that didn't work out great with the Zokar in right field, but I understand today because you had a big lead, trying to keep the no-hitter, all that. Yesterday, I mean, give him the at-bats. I didn't really understand that. I mean, he led the PCL in average. He got on base every game, and he's facing righties and lefties there. You know, he can face both of them. You know, leave him in the game. But Mazzara, he has power, gets on base, makes contact. I like it. Give him playing time. So that was pregame. Bottom of the first, Shamanaya struck out the side. Top of the second in yesterday's game. First and second, Sergio Alcantara struck out to Strand, Grisham, and Voit. That maybe came back to bite the Padres because they ended up losing by 1 run. In the third, Manny grounded out. Did not hustle. I put that out on Twitter. Wong bobbled it, didn't hustle, and he ended up being thrown out barely. He would have beaten it had he hustled, and Manny's been great. He had a hustle double in the 9th. I'm going to give him credit for that. Definitely mentioning that. I posted it on Twitter, so I'm going to be fair to him there as well. But I can't sit here and say, no, it's okay, Manny. I don't care that it was a bad look. You just not giving even, it didn't even look like he was giving 80% there. And he ended up getting thrown out, and maybe he ends up scoring. You know, who knows? But he doesn't get on base there. And I'm sorry. Yeah, Manny, you've been great. Hit another home run today. But you have to give better effort than that. And he didn't do it there. So you got to hold him accountable. Don't care who you. In the 4th, bases loaded, 2 outs, a 3-2 count. Alcantara flew out to center to the warning track. Almost hit a grand slam. Holy cow, that was so close. Sergio Alcantara, probably the last guy on the roster. And he almost hit a granny. That's baseball for you, right? In the 5th, Haas had an RBI double over Kutch's head in right field, made it 1-0 Padres, bottom 5. There was a fielder's choice that scored, Colton Wong. Crony turned a double play to strand Milwaukee runners on 1st and 3rd, so the game was tied at 1 there. In the 6th, Jorge Alfaro, big 2-run home run to center field. He is definitely hitting better than Austin Nola right now. That is clear. He should be the starting catcher if we're judging it on offense. I know that Nola's going to catch Musgrove. He's going to catch certain guys, and I'm fine with that. If Voit falters DH-wise, you're going to have to put Alfaro as the DH sometimes. Or think about it. Or at least pinch hit for Nola. I said this on the pregame show today. You're going to have to pinch hit for him some situation. In some situations, 8th inning, his place in the order comes up. It's not like you're pinch hitting Alfaro and then you don't have a catcher. You're pinch hitting a catcher for a catcher. That's just gonna have to happen because Nola is not cutting it offensively right now, in my opinion. Yeah, he's good with contact wise, and so certain situations he might be better than Alfaro. But if you're down and Nola's catching, you got to put Alfaro in, I think. Entering tonight's game, he was 6 for 12 with a double, a home run, and 2 walks in his last 5 games. He's doing well. Minaya on the mound yesterday went 6 innings, gave up 1 run, 5 hits, walked 2, struck out 8, 103 pitches. Another quality start for Minaya, grinding through it. Really, really good. Bottom 7, Suarez pitched well, got out of jam. In the 8th, Luis Garcia pitched well, got out of it. In the 9th, that's where the problem was. Alcantara had the sac fly to center in the 8th, made it 4-1. Rogers came in, and he did not have command. Just didn't. Could not locate that slider. He hit back-to-back guys with the slider. He gave up a single, the first guy that he faced. And then I think he hit Wong, hit Caratini. And then they still let him face Jace Peterson with the bases loaded and no outs. Do I agree with that decision? If I was in Bob Melvin's shoes, yes, I wouldn't second guess that decision. Because he's still your closer. You got to give him the chance to get out of it, right? But as a fan, it's kind of like, come on. It's clear that he does not have it. I was listening to John and Jim on Extra earlier today, and they were talking about how, of course, you got to give Taylor Rogers that guy with the bases loaded, right? Where Jace Peterson hit the ball off the wall, center, bases clearing, tied the game before just walk off when Chris Matt came in. And it's easy to, and so if I was Bob Melvin, I wouldn't second guess the decision to leave Rogers in the game. He's been good. Give him the chance. You have a lead. He's the closer. Give him the confidence. Let him stay out there. But as a fan, I was not thinking that way. I was thinking he clearly does not have it. Why are we letting him face a guy, bases loaded, no outs? I don't care who the hitter is. He can't locate the slider, so he's going to be relying on the fastball, and that's exactly what happened. I'm kind of surprised the ball didn't get out on that Jace Peterson extra base hit that cleared the bases. But, so, let me know in the chat. As a fan, I didn't like the decision to keep Rogers in because it was clear he didn't have it. I as a fan, I don't judge who the player is really, you know? If he's not on his day, he's not on his day. Just view it as the results. Don't view it as he's the closer. View it as it's a pitcher on the Padres. He's not on his day, and you're trying to win a game and snap a 3-game losing streak. So take him out. You got Chris Matt in the bullpen. Let's see what he got. I know he gave up the single to Kutch, but see what's happened. You know, he gave up a single. He didn't give up a bases clearing, double or triple that almost was a grand slam, almost a walk-off granny, you know? So as a fan, I disagreed with that. As Bob Melvin, I understand why, though, that he kept him in the game. Obviously, that didn't work. And on that play, by the way, that Jace Peterson with the bases clearing double, I think it was, could have Trent Grisham gotten to that ball, you know? Man, that's another, kind of like the Azokar play today on the Musgrove first hit and only hit that he allowed. Could have Grisham gotten to that ball? You know, there's been a notion around him that he's lackadaisical, getting to balls and all that stuff. And I definitely see that. And I totally understand that. But the ball was hit off the wall. The wall there is pretty tricky. It would have been a tough catch anyway. He would have, excuse me, he would have had to jump and then bang into the wall and hold on to the ball. You know, it just would have been a tough catch. Now, Azokar, I think he was probably played wrong. Like he literally went like right in front of or right behind Grisham. Obviously, Grisham's back was turned to him. Went right behind him instead of going to the left of Grisham because he knew if he knew what he was doing, the ball was going to bounce off the wall if Grisham didn't catch it and go that way. Azokar just was behind Grisham and then had to run even further toward dead center to go get the ball, to go retrieve the ball. Then the throw in, one-hopped Cronenworth. It took a long time for that throw to get in. Would they have gotten him anyway if the throw didn't take that long and he, wouldn't have had to run after the ball more after it deflected off the wall? I don't know. Probably not. I'm probably nitpicking, but that's what I'm doing in hindsight. Is there was a couple things there, a couple aspects of that play that could have been executed better, I think. So the Brewers tied it. Chris Matt came in, gave up the single. Not going to get on him. He's been great this year. Brewers won, walk-off fashion, 5-4. Padres still at that point could not get their 31st win of the year. Obviously, they got their 31st win today. in great fashion. Manny with the home run. Lots of guys contributing. Profar driving in 2 guys. And then Musgrove, obviously, fantastic 8 shutout innings, 1 hit that he allowed. Give me your thoughts. What do you guys think just generally on the team right now, really? You can give your thoughts on yesterday's game, today's game. If you guys are new to this channel, I hope you subscribe to the Talking Friars Padres YouTube channel here. This YouTube channel that you're watching this live on or on replay. For the podcast audience, I appreciate you as well at Talking Friars on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for daily Padres content. Same thing for this YouTube channel. Daily Padres content, pregame shows, postgame reactions, series reaction episodes, interviews. I've already had on Kurt Bavacqua, Heath Bell, Lauren Shahadi this year, Tim Haggerty this week, AAA El Paso broadcaster. Oceanside Boys 760 says, when does Tatis come back? Don't know. Late June, I think. Late this month. But he has not begun swinging a bat, to my knowledge. Don't know how long a rehab assignment's going to be. He's going to have to swing a bat dry, then hit off a tee, then probably flips, then batting practice on the field, then live BP, then rehab assignment. There's a lot of steps. So, I don't know. When he comes back to San Diego for that Mets series, he's going to get a scan, I think, on the bone of his wrist. And then we'll see where it goes from there. The last scan did not go as well as the Padres would have hoped. So we'll see where it goes. Yeah, early July, Joel, I know you say that there. That might happen based on if the scan doesn't go well, if they decide to have a longer rehab assignment. Who knows? If he comes back in July, I'm fine with that. I want Fernando to be healthy for the rest of the year. I don't need him coming back, hurting it, and then your divisional hopes are gone, You don't want that to happen. In terms of the Taylor Rogers conversation, should we be worried about Taylor Rogers? I know there's some dummy, I'm blanking on his name, not in radio anymore, or maybe he is in radio, but not on one of the 2 main stations, saying that today that the Padres have a closer problem. That's idiotic. There was a commenter on my TikTok page, something about Taylor Rogers, they should be done with Taylor Rogers. That's idiotic. The guy's an all-star closer. Mariano Rivera, Trevor Hoffman, they blew saves too. You're allowed to have a couple bad games in the first third of the season. He's been great besides a couple games. And that was his first blown save in the 9th inning. The other, remember, the Padres thought so much of him because he was doing so well and because of the lack of the bullpen. They had Taylor Rogers come in that Dodger game at Petco Park earlier this year in the 8th inning to try to, I think, get a 5-out save or something. And he couldn't get it. Left the slider over the middle, Trey Turner off the wall, yada, yada, yada. They ended up winning that game, I think. I think that was the Nola sac fly game. But, okay. You're telling me that you should be worried about the closer position right now? Taylor Rogers, he's been tremendous. Who do you want to be the closer then? Because it's one thing to say, Padres have a closer problem. Who is going to be the closer then? You're going to have Nabil Chrismat be the closer? I love Chrismat, but I don't know if that's his best role, Even with a 37.80 ERA in his last 3 games, right? His ERA is still under 3.3. He has 17 saves. His whip's under 1, 26 strikeouts. And he's walked 6 guys. One of them was an intentional walk. He struck out more than 4 times the guys that he's walked this year. He's been tremendous. And so we have a closer problem just because, he sucked yesterday. Okay. So all of a sudden you can't suck for 1 night or 2 nights in your first, 26 appearances or something. Like, really? That's just a dumb thought, And the Padres bullpen right now, Rogers, Chris Matt. I'm trusting Garcia a little more. Who else other than that do you say, well, I'll give him the ninth inning and think that you'll have a pretty dang good chance of getting it done, you know? In a high leverage spot. Someone had the ninth inning tonight. It was 7-0. I'm talking about high leverage. Who are you going to give that to? Now, Taylor Rogers is the closer. They don't have a closer problem. I'm not worried about Taylor Rogers. Was I pissed off last night? Was it an embarrassing loss last night? Yes. Taylor Rogers called it the worst night of his career. And I agree, it was bad. He didn't get an out, allowed 4 earned runs, 2 hits, didn't strike out anyone. He was bad. He knows it too. And I think he was left in a little bit too long because of how bad he was. But that doesn't mean they have a closer problem. You know, it doesn't. Yeah, Joe Musgrove, he hasn't had a bad start so far yet this year. But you look at every other starter so far this year, pretty much in baseball, they've had a bad start. You know, that they've given up more than 2 runs or something like that. Happens the same thing with relievers as well. You know, even the best closers ever have had bad days. So I think that'll end the Taylor Rogers closer discussion. Not even calling it a debate because there is no debate. He's the closer. All right. So the Padres lost that one 5-4 to Milwaukee. I think that can close the book. Mazzara had a fielder's choice or a fly out to center and then a single in his first 2 Padres at bats at the big league level. That was Thursday's game. We talked about today's game. Amazing. Turn of event. A total 180 from the end of last night to today's game. 8 strong innings from Musgrove. Manny homers for the 9th time this year. Profar drives and runs. Ozokar even had that triple late. Kim drove in a run late. A lot of guys producing. A great win. Last night was the worst loss of the year, I think. Tonight was one of the best wins of the year in terms of just solid win. You know, throughout pretty much everyone. So let me know general Padres thoughts. We'll end it like that. I'm going to go to the comments here. General Padres thoughts. Anything you're thinking, any questions, let me know here. Let's see. Joel Williams says, I was worried about the team after that poor turnout for the Cardinals, then that Brewers comeback game before last. I'm feeling a lot better after today. And yeah, look, even like before the game today, like I was still thinking in my mind, like even if the Padres lost today, they're 30-22. You got Corbin Burnes on the mound. Is it the end of the world? Now, if they would have lost despite Corbin Burnes pitching this bad today, yeah, that would have been a problem. But even then, they would have still been 30-22 without Fernando. You know, you just got to put it in perspective a little bit. So that helps. And then especially, you know, when you have a game tonight, right, and you see the potential of this offense, you're like, holy cow, we got special potential here. Bring back Fernando, and, oh, man, we really got something. John says, a statement game, 4 losses in a row, and fans started thinking 21 collapse. Yeah. I mean, that was mentioned on the radio today, too. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the 21 collapse, obviously, last year, that can be brought up, but it's totally different circumstances. You got to realize that. In the first half of the season, we don't have Fernando. The collapse happened with Fernando. That was part of the reason why it sucked so much, you know? Right now, we have a healthy rotation of Musgrove, Darvish, Clev, or Clev's on the IL, but you get what I'm saying. Manaea, Gore should be the National League Rookie of the Year. And the fact that he didn't win National League Rookie of the Month this past month is just stupid anyway as well. And then just the whole rotation is Nick Martinez. They just have a deeper rotation that's healthy right now, pretty much. And they're willing and they're able, because of the depth, to have that 6-man rotation and give guys extra days right now. Like, so the circumstances of the collapse last year, where we had Jake Arrieta pitching and Vince Velasquez pitching and Pedro Avila pitching, it's totally different than it is right now. So, no, I don't think you can compare it to the collapse, because a collapse is when you're like really, really, really good. You've been good for a sustained period of time, and then you fall. Like last year. We're still in the first half of the year, And for it to be like a real collapse, I think you got to be fully healthy. They don't have Fernando right now. But in terms of like the losing, I understand. Like finding ways to lose, I get that point. But I don't think you compare the two. I don't think you can compare the two collapses. Well, they haven't collapsed this year. You get what I'm saying. If they would have, or if they would have continued losing so far right now, you can't compare those two. Zach says Castillo and Baez pitching well. They are, and that's another part of the reason why you should be optimistic about this team. And after tonight's win, it's crazy how 24 hours can totally shift your mood. Last night, sucky loss, worst loss of the year, and then tonight, one of the cleanest wins of the year, if not the cleanest win of the year. And then you see those minor league game logs where Castillo hasn't given up an earned run yet in the minor leagues this year in his rehab appearances, right? And Michel Baez is pitching pretty well, And those guys can be moved into the bullpen. And so you don't have to have Steven Wilson have all this pressure on him, And then when guys are healthy, even when in the rotation, like let's say Club gets back, you can move Martinez into the bullpen, So all of a sudden, there's more depth in the bullpen, and you still have the rotation. And you have Fernando coming back. Hopefully it's, late June or July. So all of a sudden, looking at it half glass full, it's really easy to think that this team can go really far. And I had them going in the end of the year as I think 90-plus win team or 89-plus win team. And I'm still definitely sticking with that. 31-20 or 31-22 right now. Yeah. I mean, why not? Why can't they? Sure, the division's tough, but this team's you can just feel that the team is different than last year. Like, you can't compare the two teams, I don't think, Last year, Jace Tingler managing. This year, it's Bob Melvin. Last year, they had Larry Rothschild being fired and saying that he was the scapegoat, even though guys continued to get hurt after he was fired. And this year, you have Ruben Niebla fixing Mackenzie Gore. Last year, Gore was going from AAA all the way down back to Peoria because he couldn't find the strike zone consistently enough. And now, fast forward to this year, now he's in the rotation, and he's the National League Rookie of the Year if I had a vote. So, total different circumstances. And I know last year at this time, things were going well as well. But it just feels different right now, It just does. Let's see. Kevin says, love the platooning we're seeing in the outfield. Yeah, I think it's going to be intriguing with the Mazara Rooker thing. The Rooker being brought up. Will he hit against, he's a righty. Will he hit against lefties and play right field? And then Mazara hit against righties since he's a lefty? Could see that, right? I mean, they're still playing a Zokar a lot in right field. Or, I mean, these two games that Mazara has been on the team and starting, right? But, yeah, I think Rooker and Mazara can definitely provide some big impact at bats, or big bats to this lineup, because of that power potential. And I love Mazara, the fact that it seems like he's making a lot of contact this year. Rooker is not the same guy. He strikes out more, but the power is there, and the power has been lacking in the Padres' offense, in the outfield. So I think both guys can fit in certain ways on this roster while Will is on the IL. Zach says Benintendi's been linked to us. Yes, but if Mazara plays well, I don't think there's really a reason to go out and get Benintendi, give up prospects from a weaker farm system than it certainly was a couple years ago. But yeah, Mancini's been linked to us. There's been names, Contreras. Yeah, there's been names, and you're going to continue to say names. It's AJ Preller. AJ Preller talks to everyone. He might not be seriously considering something, but he's considering everything. That's what we've seen from the history of AJ Preller, And he thinks outside the box. Did we see him hiring Bob Melvin? No. Did we see him bringing in Jorge Alfaro? No. Did we see him bringing in, what's another name? Taylor Rogers on opening day? No. He just thinks outside the box, and that's something good about him, and it can be bad a little bit as well. But I think he definitely learned from last year. If they need something at the trade deadline, go and freaking get it. Unlike last year when they needed starting pitching and he didn't get anything. Mills says, "Did you see Passan's article about us picking up Nelson Cruz?" No, I did not. What did he say there? What, that he's a trade option? They have Luke Voit. If that's what he said, I don't think that's happening. They have Luke Voit as a DH. They have Brent Rooker who can fill in as a DH. They have other guys that can rotate as a DH. They have Brent. Did I say Brent Rooker already? Yeah, they have Brent Rooker. They have DH options. So what would they do with Voit if they bring in Cruz? I don't know if I just don't know if he fits. And it kind of feels like an Adam Frazier type deal, kind of like last year, where Frazier just didn't fit with the team. And it was pretty obvious. Yeah, I'd love to have Nelson Cruz. I think he would play over Luke Voit. That's not what I'm saying. But you have Luke Voit on the roster. You're telling me the Nationals would want Luke Voit back? I don't know. John says, "Great content, Ben. You've been really killing it with the Padres coverage, talking Friars for the W." Thank you. I appreciate it. And I think we'll leave it with that. I appreciate that comment, John. Again, I hope you subscribe to this YouTube channel, trying to get up to 1,000 subscribers. Daily Padres content. When I go to games, I do content from inside Petco Park. Pre-game shows from inside, post-game reactions from inside Petco Park. And I do it for you guys. I love talking Padres baseball with all you guys. And don't think I'm forgetting the podcast audience. I appreciate you as well. I'm just live on YouTube right now, and I see the chat on YouTube. But I appreciate everyone tuning in. Joel, I appreciate that as well, that comment. Thanks, Ben. You're performing on excellent service. Thank you. That'll do it. Fun hour plus of Padres talk. Musgrove with an amazing no-hit bid after last night's terrible loss. And the Padres look to win the series if they can win the next two games tomorrow and Sunday, or split. I'd be happy with a split going home for the Mets series. So that'll do it. Episode 177 of the Talk Friars podcast and YouTube show. I'm your host, Ben Fadden, signing off. Have a good night, everyone. See ya.